Have you been struggling trying to figure out where you should put your marketing energy this year? Should you go a little bit harder and focus more on social media, maybe host more events with clients, throw parties, things like that, or maybe do more gifting or lunches or coffee dates with them? If you've been struggling with that, then this episode is for you. Today, I sit down with Ryan Garson out of NYC, who has done 400 million in deals and has over 18,000 followers on Instagram. He unpacks his strategies and logic behind why he's doing what he's doing to continue to build out his team and his own book of business. Now, if you find value in content like this, scroll down a little bit and hit that subscribe button now. And as always, I'm your San Francisco referral partner, Shawn Kunkler. Ryan, what is up, man? Thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm good. So to give everybody some context, you've done like north of 400 million in sales, have a 10-person team, and a very impressive social media following of 18,000. So I want to dig into kind of all those integral components. You're out of New York. I know you relocated there. So you're heavy on the social media or the networking side and building all that out. So there's a lot I want to chat with you about, and I'm pretty stoked. So thanks for carving out some time to do this and share with our audience. So let's kind of back up from your beginning. What inspired you to even get started in the real estate game to start with?
My first foray in real estate when I bought a house when I was 20 years old in Florida. This is back in 2006, 2007, right before the Great Recession. So I bought a house, I bought a couple of condos, I bought 4 condos.
At 20?
At 20. I had a business when I was in college. I was a promoter, and I ran all the clubs and bars in Tampa where I went to school. I got paid to party. It was a lot of fun. I had a one night club that I ran. I was doing 1,000 people every Thursday night, and I charged a cover at the door, and I got the cover. It was great. I had a 30-person staff. They were all the leaders in the fraternities and sororities and the football team and baseball team, and yeah, it was Tampa was a great city to do it in because there was a big college population, and there was also it was a city, so there was a young professional, and it kind of just really blended the two. And so I took all the money I pretty much made from being a promoter into real estate. And I did a couple of successful deals. When the market crashed, I ended up really getting underwater and having to dig myself out, which was very painful. But I was doing this at 24, 25 when the crash happened. And I got into another business. I was selling puppies, actually. I own pet stores called Palm Beach Puppies. And yeah, it was really interesting. My parents were looking for a dog, and they just had a bad experience. They went to a store, it smelled bad, the puppies were in cages. They ended up buying a puppy from a backyard breeder that was somebody who bought it from a breeder. It got sick. They had vet bills. And was getting out of the club business at the time. I wanted to do something different. And it just kind of popped up maybe I should open up a pet store. So we opened it up. We opened up 3 stores in South Florida, and then we franchised it and opened up another 10. I ended up selling that business when I was 30 and moved to New York City. And I had I don't know, 7 or 8 jobs in 2 years before I got into real estate.
Wow. So it sounds like just being a hustler is in your DNA. It's just, you just go for it. What was your very first job?
I had so many jobs in high school, but one of the jobs I did, it was a hustle, was when the CD burner first came out. I bought one, and I copied some CDs. I went to school. I sold some of the CDs in school. Then I just I remember I would go after school. I would just spend hours copying CDs. Then I put it into another computer in my house. Then I got one for a friend. I had them copying, and I was the CD guy when I was in 10th grade. I was selling a lot of CDs.
Dude, that's funny. If we had met back then, we would have been dangerous together. In like seventh grade, I somehow my mom was a crazy health nut, and I convinced her to buy me a 5 pack of Hubba Bubba gum, and I broke up all the packs. I got like 4 packs, broke them all up, and then in seventh grade, I was hustling a pack, like one packet for $1, and I would walk around with just like pockets full of cash every day before school, and that was my first the first hit of like, holy shit, I can make some money at this.
Yeah, I always liked making money.
I've tried not having money and I've tried having money, and I much rather have it. It's much easier to live.
Yeah, I think it's better to have it.
How long ago did you move up from Florida to New York?
So I've been in New York 12 years. I've been doing real estate 10.
Okay. So you basically started in real estate without a network as you were kind of cutting your teeth.
I had a friend who, like, actually, he kind of gave me a good head start. He had a family business, and a young kid my age, and he was managing. They owned like 30 apartments, and he said, "Oh, if you want, you come. You're perfect for it." He's like, "I trust you. You'll do the rentals." And so I just got a real head start. Really super busy doing rentals for these 30 apartments in the co-op, and then I started doing some sales in the building, and just was really hustling. Actually, my first year, I broke a record for the brokerage I was in. I did like 90 rentals, zero sales. I think I did one sale in my first 2 years, but I did a ton of rentals. And you can make some money doing rentals in New York City, but it's like when you're doing rentals, like you're in the rental business. And I think there's all these different niches, that you could be in. It could be, certain neighborhoods or selling at a certain price point. But I feel like if you really want to be a good rental broker, like you do a lot of rentals. And I was just great at converting, renters into becoming my clients. And I had a decent amount of listings to get the leads. And I just really built up a system like real quick.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, doing 90, your conversion rate has to be exceptional as compared to everybody else in the market or in that brokerage at the time.
Yeah.
Would you say now that your kind of secret sauce is that you just have a really strong conversion rate?
I'm not so much into the statistics where I'm like tracking how many conversations I have to converting. I think my secret sauce would be that I'm really good at talking to people and having conversations and building trust. And also, like, I think my business, like Acume, translates into like running a team, into my marketing, into how I talk to my clients. From what at least in New York City, I feel like being a realtor, it's like such a second or third career. And so you're running into, people that were like actors or in fashion or, had a marketing job or a sales job. Like I think everybody kind of has a certain like way that they have like been brought up professionally. And like, I've always been an entrepreneur, and like us as realtors, like we are like such an entrepreneur. I mean, I think like I read a book, it's I forgot the name of it. It was a while back, but it's like, I feel like realtors are always like working like in their business and not on their business. And like I'm always like strategizing and planning and like looking at my business like from like a couple steps back. Because I feel like realtors just could get in just such a like a cycle of like, working with buyers and sellers, and they can get burnt out. And I feel like I come from a different mindset.
I completely agree. It's funny. I read that same book because I learned that in my previous career as well. There's time to work in the business. There's time to work on the business. I don't remember, but I know I read it. There was a period where I was like just devouring books.
I had to read it a couple of times too. It wasn't like I'm like, wait, how do I relate this to my lifestyle? Um, yeah, that's a good book.
I tend to do now currently, and I would love to hear what you're doing, is I try not to put anything on my calendar until about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I try to use the morning part to just think about my business and work on aspects of it before I start getting bombarded by emails and people and phone calls and texts, because it gives me that time to reflect. Like, is this working? Is this strategy making sense? Should we pivot? Do I need to bring somebody in? Like, what do I need to do? How are you carving, like, how do you create space for you to think about and to actually work on it?
I feel like it's kind of a battle because I have a 4 year old and she just always wakes up early. She's just an early riser, and I try to like get ahead of it and like wake up before her. So that means I have to really wake up at like 5:30 to kind of have like a good hour to myself. But I really have like kind of put a routine together. I like drink like 2 glasses of water. Like the first thing, I hydrate. I meditate. I have an app, Headspace. I meditate for like 7 minutes. Um, and then I drink some coffee. And I'm trying to read. If I can wake up earlier, I try to read for like a half hour. I think that's something that's like part of my New Year's resolution that I really want to do, because I want to start reading more. And like I feel like it just I'm too tired at the end of the day, and I feel like that's kind of like my time where I'm like, you're right, it's not crazy. And then something that I spend actually probably too much time is I go back through the following day, go through all my emails and like respond to the ones that I didn't get to, um, or if I have something like a big task, like putting like an evaluation together, I do that. And then always, definitely, I have like a weekly plan, a monthly plan. And I look at that for sure every morning and like what I need to do. Like I also have tasks on my email, like on Gmail, and I always put like my to-do lists on there. So I feel like it's like getting ready before like the madness of a day, because like a day in a realtor can go so many different directions with like showings and phone calls and putting out fires and making deals and running a team. You're having a lot of conversation. I'm having a lot of conversations with everyone on my team. I'm talking to my operations manager, my marketing manager. I have a ton of meetings throughout the day, a ton of showings, pitches. So yeah, that before 10 o'clock time is like, it's kind of like the catch up, because we're not by a desk, and that's why I love the job, is we're not sitting behind a desk like ready to respond all the time. We're responding on the fly to the important things, but there's just so much to do during the day.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny, I haven't had this conversation, I don't feel, enough with different people who are performing at an incredibly high level of what is your protected space and what do you do during that time. And to your point, like once the day gets going, you're just putting out fires, but you're never actually going to get more kindling for, to grow your own. And so meditating, reading, kind of, it gives you time to reflect. And I always say you're erasing the chalkboard, if you will, starting fresh and then approaching everything with a new lens, rather than that burnout, which we all go through cycles of it. Especially, it gets compounded as the markets shift and all the craziness ensues. But let's kind of rewind just a little bit more, because I know your Instagram page is the very social broker, and you moved to New York from Florida without having a base. And we all know it's referrals at the core of it. So if you don't have that base network, what did you do in those early days to start building out your brand, your name, and essentially just connecting with people on a larger scale?
I mean, I worked every single day, so I think that's probably, it's kind of a hands-on type business. But to start on the social part, like I joined a BNI. I was on the boards of a few different charities. I think I made some connections, some really good connections there. I think that was the part of like building my network, charities, BNI, friends, family, and just kind of like working through that. I really love doing events. I feel like I'm good at like putting people into a room, introducing people. That's something that I still do to this day. I probably have, last year we threw like, I would say 8 pretty big events.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I also farm the building I live in, and I do events there too. So, I think you throw a good party, like you don't need to have, you can kind of like, you get some brownie points, or like, it's you're the person putting it on. So I think there's always that kind of like officialness, almost like a mayor type when you do these events. And it's also, it's like, it's a nice way to invite people to, especially people you haven't talked to in a while. And like, even if they don't come, it's still nice to do, to invite them there. And It's something that I really want to like double down on, and I have a lot of like great ideas for different types of events, and broker events too. I think having a good relationship with the brokerage community is really important. I would say 90% of the deals that I do are co-brokes, so I always try to do the best I can to strengthen relationship within the community as well.
It's so fascinating that you bring that up. This in 2024, obviously post COVID now, we I just sat down with my team and we've ramped up. We're doing quarterly events, which we're not at eight. So eight is just seems like way too cumbersome at this point, but quarterly is still a lot. And then in addition to, we actually have a property that's coming up, and we're doing an event about marketing for our agent community. And the same thing, it's like we do so many deals within our community. It only makes sense to strengthen those relationships and bonds. And I think too, on a sidebar, if you're hosting these parties and people, you become known for doing that, you don't have to talk about real estate. The social proof is there. People usually will talk on your behalf to them. And so and you're hosting it. And so people who are hosting parties obviously have the money to be able to do so. So there's an implied social proof that you are doing well in your business to be able to be in this position to offer this thing. And so, yeah, there's so many good value to that. When you say double down, eight is already a huge number. What are you trying to ramp up to?
I want to do these monthly lunches with my team and some of the vendors that we work with, where we bring, one or two people and just like bring a really good table together for a nice lunch. Um, I want to do an event that talks about dating and real estate. Bring on a couple single agents, and I'd moderate it. We have a kind of like a bachelor pad to do that in. Um, I have a event that do called Penthouse Creators. It's for content creators, and we throw a big party at a listing, usually like a nice, beautiful penthouse. Broker opens I think are really good. In my building, I throw a Cinco de Mayo party every year. This year, I ended up doing the holiday party. Um, Probably do like one more. Like I have a really nice terrace. I want to do like a hibachi. There's this company that's like a traveling hibachi, and I want to like do when it gets warmer out, like a huge like hibachi table like on this terrace for my building. The average price point of my building is like $4 million too, so it's and there's 275 apartments, so I feel like that's a really something that I want to focus in on, is really becoming the building um, expert and the building specialist. Um, yeah, those are just a few to that are just like on the top of my head.
Love that. Yeah, and what's really cool is I've been following you for a while on social, and everybody following gets this sneak preview to all these events. And I did see one a while back where you had all these content creators.
Not only do I throw the event that it's great for the people that are there, but I'm capturing the whole event. It's a piece of content that lives forever. And then I'm also getting the email addresses of everybody. I'm sending them a thank you email. I'm putting out the video that I did for the event. I also did a really good, and then I guess Compass to Compass. We had Connect the Dots, which was like a regional Compass event. And I put together this amazing lunch. It was a 100-person lunch with agents in different markets that came through, and it was like the talk of Connect the Dots. I just got ahead of it. I guess I'm like, hey, everybody at these retreats are always throwing these parties. No, I don't. I didn't hear of anything. It was kind of like a last minute. It was like the first one that Compass is done I think has ever. I think there was one in Miami that they did, and they got the idea from there. So I threw this lunch, and it was people were just reaching out to me throughout the day. Oh, could we come by? Could we come? Could we come? And we captured the whole event, created great content, tagged everybody there. So I think creating events within Compass at the retreats, and now they're going to start to have some of these regional events. Is something that I'm also like really passionate about doing more of.
Events are interesting. They are magnets. They definitely, people want to have a good time at the end of the day, and if you're the person they're associating that good time with, it instantly creates this different relationship with you and with everybody else that's there. So I love that you're doing that, and I think it's such a brilliant strategy. Do you have, or let me back up, what is your marketing team that you've built? What does that look like?
So in house we have a marketing manager, and he's really about like the content creation. He's boots on the ground. He's filming us. He's helping with strategy. He's letting me know like what's trending, we should be doing. He'll kind of put not really a script, but like some like bullet points of like some talking points, and he'll film me. And then I also have a marketing agency called Very Social. I started this business 4 years ago. It's a marketing agency for real estate agents. We specialize in social media management, so pretty much like the back end of your social, doing all the posting, writing copy, video editing, graphic designs, community engagement to help you like grow your follower base and just connect with the people that are following you. So I've been doing that for a while. So we'll have somebody on that team help like with my LinkedIn, because I'm on like 5 different platforms. So really help with more on like the posting side of things. Um, so I have somebody who's like kind of like in-house boots on the ground, and then like we will send all the content to that person who will do all the posting, and like really just like kind of like put the content together strategically.
Your other business, which I'm so curious of how many businesses you actually own, but the you're very social, that marketing leg. So an agent like myself would just they would record themselves, create some content, send the video, and then your team would cut it up and then disperse it.
Exactly, exactly. We put calendars together so it looks, very organized, and it's like thought out. And I think like, you don't really need to post everything like right away. I think if you create content, and like I think if you disperse it like in a thoughtful manner, it's probably more effective.
It's not dissimilar from like those friends on whatever platform. They go on vacation to insert any country, and then for the next week you are just blown up every single day by like 50 videos or pictures of them on vacation, and then they get back and you never hear about it again. Whereas an event, you can have much smaller, like you can do one video, but then you can have, just thinking back on this event, and you can layer it in and use it in much more creative ways, like your team does. I actually, anybody with a decent sized following, people don't stick around, especially now, if the content's not interesting, good, or entertaining. They unfollow, unsubscribe, and people are just so quick to do it.
I try to really think out of the box and be entertaining, and somewhat educational, and really just show off my personality.
The agents who do a really great job on social media, it's typically it's about them, and then there's an asterisk, and I sell real estate, but it's not, the front and center isn't I sold this, I just listed this. That's not the front and center. It's here's my life, and here's a piece of what I do during my day, and it makes for just much more engaging and more entertaining. For real estate agents, what platform, if they were only to pick one platform and dedicate some time to actually trying to build an audience, what platform would you recommend, and who's the audience they should be creating the content for?
Instagram, and I think it's their sphere of influence. I spend a lot of time on Instagram just connecting with my sphere. Like I'm looking at Instagram stories, I see somebody, traveling or going to a good restaurant. Like I'm sending a DM, I'm commenting on it. I'm just engaged that way. So, I don't really get too much cold business from Instagram. It's more like keeping top of mind with my sphere of influence, with my network, with the brokerage community. So that's really what I'm focused on. And like, yeah, I do like, LinkedIn and Facebook and TikTok.
Mhm.
It's really all like the main business and really not even business. It's really more conversations that I'm having is on Instagram, and there's a lot of them.
That's interesting. I don't think enough people are talking about what you just said is you're not just getting the lead per se from, let's say, Instagram, but you're being able to have conversations and then those parlay into something else.
Yeah, I mean, being a realtor is all about having conversations. Like, you need the more conversations you have, that's going to lead to more sales. And I feel like the best way to have conversations and talk to people is through Instagram. Like, it's pretty organic. Like, whoever, you're following, a past client, a friend of a friend, they're putting themselves out there by putting a comment. If you make a nice comment, if you, DM them on a story, that's a conversation starter. Even if it's just like a short conversation where someone just like emoji thumbs up, like, at least like you're putting yourself out there, you're there, like you're in their head, they're responding. I honestly have a really hard time like calling somebody up I haven't talked to in a year or a year and a half and saying, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on?" Like, especially if I know they're not going to sell or transact, like, a lot of, I'm probably not the broker because I do so many transactions where it's like I'm not my client's best friends. Like I'm just really not. Am I close with them? Do we have good conversations? Are we engaged? Do I learn about them? Do they learn about me? Do we have common interest? Yes. But I'm doing a job. I sell 70 homes a year. It's hard to be like everyone's best friend. And honestly, I have my own life. I'm busy. I'm raising a kid. Like if somebody that doesn't have a kid, I'm doing kid stuff all weekend, so I'm probably not going to want to like go out with them till like 3 in the morning or even go to dinner. Like like a dinner commitment's a lot. Um, but I do want to stay in touch and be their realtor, and I want them to think of me as top of mind, and I want them to if they're ever at a dinner party and someone says, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling or I'm thinking about moving," like I want them to think of me, and if I'm selling 70 homes a year, I'm not going to be everyone's best friend, but I still want to be connected with them. And so I feel like the best way for me to connect with those people is through social media, through, events, through email marketing,
Hmm.
text messages, and like, I can try to call, I try to like somewhat call them, but after 2, 3 years, like it's hard to really be connected with that person, even though it's such a special transaction where you do connect, you know, it's hard to really, I have the demographic of my clients is all over the place. Like they're not like me. Like I'm not just selling to like my peers. I'm selling to, all sorts of people. And I would say majority of them, I would say 95% of them are pretty happy with the transaction and my service. But they didn't hire me to be their best friend. They hired me to do a job. And, I want to be there when they do want to resell, or they think when they have that referral opportunity.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's like, how do you really do that? And I think when you're doing the volume that I'm doing, it's like you kind of have to be strategic about it.
Listen, man, I appreciate your honesty with that because to your point, when you're doing that much volume, you get spread incredibly thin and it's unrealistic. There's only 365 days in a year. And so if you have 900 people in your database, it's impossible to have lunch with everybody. It's impossible. And like it's going to be a never ending pile. And so I agree. I mean, I think you can build a relationship, you can build a bond and be around them through social, but you can do it in just a far more efficient and a cost effective way versus I have to be best friends with every single person who's ever bought or sold a house with me.
Or like, you have to buy them a gift. I was just on with some service, and they're all about like, okay, getting your clients like gift at every like point of the transaction. That's gonna really get them to just be 100% cheerleaders and love you. And then they have another package where it's like, they give 4 gifts a week. They're giving like, salt shakers and a popcorn for movie night. Like, I had a really long discussion with my team because we want to stay in front of our clients. Like that is something that we want to do. And somebody that we haven't transacted with in a while, like if like, are we really buying them like a $20 gift and sending them a note every single quarter? Is that what's going to make them think about us? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're saying they do a lot of business and it's a great product and service, but it's like not something that I probably want to invest in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to like how everybody like, does what they do. I think you just I think it's a lot of it's just like a gut. It's like what do you feel comfortable doing? What's authentic, and you just have to stick with that.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you ask 20 high performing agents what they're doing, you're probably going to get literally 20 different answers. And I guarantee 2 of those answers are going to be contradictory. And so I don't think at the end of the day, it really matters what you're doing as long as you're doing it. And more importantly, you're just doing it consistently. Like if you throw one event and you never do it again, you're probably not going to have a huge long-term ROI. Or if you do a gift or you send a note card, that's just not how marketing, which ultimately this is, that's just not how marketing works. It's just go all in. And I mean, I can say from my experience, actually I have one here. We sent Yeti mugs that were logoed and branded to our entire database. We sent 2 per home. When the smoke cleared with the cost of the mug and shipping and the time to write it was over $80 per package. Very expensive. I mean, it added up very quickly. Whereas one event was half that cost. And I did one event. At the end of the day, when that smoke cleared, the photographer wound up buying a house. We had a band, the singer, the drummer, both transacted with me. The lender who hosted it sent me a handful of leads. And then I had a whole bunch of referrals and direct transactions, all because of that one event. So I think being entrepreneurs that we are, is you got to just try stuff and then see what resonates with you, what resonates with your client base, what actually feels good and that you want to do more of. Some people are introverts. They don't want to do events. That's fine. Don't do it. Figure out maybe gifting feels better and that's an easier, lighter approach. Do more of that. But I would encourage people to just try and explore things and really, which you did, have an honest conversation with yourself of like, it's not realistic for me to do this, but it is realistic for me to go incredibly hard in this category. So I'm going to. And so if nothing else, I hope that's what people glean from this is just figuring out what is your individual secret sauce, and then just lean incredibly hard into that. Man, Ryan, this flew by. We're actually at the top of the hour, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. But I really genuinely, I appreciate everything that you shared, and then 2, I just appreciate how authentic and honest you were with what was working, what's not working, and where you're basically pushing harder in 2024. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. Great speaking with you.